Mimi ni mwanabiashara. Na kama vile kuko uchumi wetu umekuwa mbaya zaidi, hata hatuwezi tukaongea, hasa sisi watu wa hali ya chini. Tunaumia sana. Maana hata kama ni kazi, unaenda sokoni, unanunua hiyo mzigo, unaamka usiku, unaenda unanunua huo mzigo, unaleta katika biashara yako, huo mzigo unaweza uza wiki mzima.
Enyewe uchumi ya Kenya iko chini sana juu. Hata wenye tuko na biashara pesa hatupati na pesa haitukaribia hata kidogo.
A very good evening to you. Welcome to Power Brief. Tonight we discuss a crucial topic that is in the minds and the lips of each and every individual in the Republic of Kenya. 2 days ago, Kenya was ranked as the biggest economy in Eastern African region. But as such happens, there are cries on the streets. A number of people have different opinions regarding what is happening in the business and investments. We are privileged to have Honorable Advocate Kennedy Mongare. Advocate Kennedy Mongare is a journalist and a lawyer. He is a former senator of Nyamira County. He offered distinguished service to this country, and that's why we found it possible tonight to bring him on board to discuss and to see what is happening in Kenya on matters economics. My name is Cornelius Omuse, and I welcome you to join us on this powerful discussion. Karibu Bwana Wakili to our show on Power Brief.
Thanks very much.
A number of Kenyans are asking sometimes themselves or even asking their friends, where is Wakili Mheshimiwa Kennedy Mongare nowadays?
I've been on a sabbatical after having a stint in the Senate. I took a sabbatical leave from politics and went back to my law practice. That's where my paneting in the meantime.
Wonderful. And tonight we look into matters economics. There are a number of things that we want to see and also help Kenyans, both the citizens and those stakeholders, the policy makers and the policy implementers. And we wish to get it from you, just a yes or no answer. Is the Kenyan economy doing well, Mheshimiwa?
Not the common man. So the answer is no. If you want a yes and no answer, it's no with a part. So if I may enumerate on that, there are two levels of economics. When we talk about economics, there is microeconomics, which talks about big scale issues, like in the country. If you look at this Jubilee regime for the last 4 or 5 years, they've been working on massive infrastructural development. This massive infrastructural development, unfortunately, has been on higher interest loans. All right? This affects the small issues, microeconomics, the small scale business persons, because the government has levied so many taxes, which taxes are taken directly to the banks where we borrow the money from, especially the Chinese conglomerates. You are talking from the SGR. If you walk around the country, you will see massive infrastructural developments on the roads projects, dams, and all this. These are the issues which affect now the trickle effect to the common man. That's why the common man around the country is crying that there's no money in the market, there's no money in circulations. And also the biggest impediment of all this is the corruption.
We are coming to that. Now, when we look into the current economic status of Kenya, is way below compared to during the regime of President Mwai Kibaki. And as at that time, we did not used to have devolution. Why is this thing contradicting itself? Because the mind behind devolution was to see that resources trickle down to the common man. But what is happening is the opposite.
You see, if you're talking about the Grand Coalition during the Kibaki regime, Kibaki was an expert. He's an expert on economics, having been the longest serving finance minister in the country, having been ranked among the promising, ministers in 1972. If you look at the Time magazine, President Kibaki was ranked among the promising finance ministers in the world. And during the Kibaki regime, he knew what to do. He never borrowed, right? He was spending within what we had. The Jubilee regime has borrowed almost 70 times of what, for the last 6-7 years, they have over-borrowed. Again, they disregarded the IMF and World Bank, cautions. The World Bank and the IMF told the Jubilee regime that let's lend you, all right? We supervise, but with the idea of corruption and other issues, the country went to the east. They went to China, did borrowing of high interest loans with some kickbacks. That's why now you find that all the money which is collected through taxes by the KRA, before the KRA arranges the money, the first thing to do is to pay the loans, which are matured. Some of these loans, the maturity period has caught with the government. That's why you see they are levying taxes all over for the common man. That's why the common man doesn't have money in circulation.
To take you back, Bwana Wakili, on what you began with about the Jubilee flagship programs, and they've been keen to invest so much on infrastructure. You've been seeing the last mile connectivity of electricity and also the roads. When you hear the political leaders and the president, the deputy, and some of the ministers have been very categorical that we are doing this to spur the economy, to see that citizens are able to transport their goods and even to do business. But what is actually happening is that it's still the opposite. Isn't there any connection between infrastructural development and economic growth?
There is a connection in that if you are doing a 10-story house, all right, on high interest loans, you see you are not going to reap the benefits until the story house is finished, you lease it out. Now, for the massive infrastructure development, which is done throughout the country will reap, the common man will reap in this almost in 7-8 years to come. By that time, we could have paid the high interest loans, the infrastructure development could have been complete. For instance, if you are driving on a road where you spend 30 minutes, by the time that road is done, you're spending 15 minutes. What does it mean that if you will be spending 15 minutes, the fuel you'll be using for 30 minutes could have been shortened to 15 minutes. That's the time the Kenyan man, the common man will be reaping the benefits of the massive infrastructure development. But for the short term, we have to turn our belts. We'll recover in 7-8 years, not soon.
It takes a lot of time. Now, in the year 2018, the Jubilee administration actually said that they had recorded best economic performance of 6.3 from 4.8. But at the same year, the number of formal jobs generated by the economy fell to a 6-year low. How does this thing relate?
The biggest problem in this country, in the region, we are the biggest superpower in the economy, in the region, compared to other countries surrounding us. But the biggest problem for the investors has been the bottlenecks affecting an investor to come to this country. For an investor to be in this country, it goes to initially they were requiring almost to 30 licenses. But when they got to Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda, they need almost 4-6 licenses to invest. 3, the idea of kickbacks has hindered most of the investors to come. Even an investor is coming to set shop here, is being told, toa kitu kidogo. Some of them have just left. That's the biggest problem. But I think the Jubilee regime has addressed and they have fast-tracked some of those licenses. Gradually, but you see, even investors left, he has left. He's not going to come back because you've reduced the timelines he's supposed to get these licenses. Those are the big issues which I can see the regime is trying to address.
Now, when you look at the trend since the year 2015, there have been decline in job creation and also the unemployment rate has really gone so high. From your own research and analysis, do you think the matter of unemployment is going to get a solution any soon?
It's a time bomb. It's a time bomb considering the fact that with the concluded census, you see that 75% of the citizenry is young people under 35. And if you look at a 35-year-old, this is a guy with a master's or a first degree, or the worst, with a certificate. The most important thing is that the government must come with policies of advising the young people not to think about white-collar jobs, but it has to come with incentives, so that if the, like today or for the last 3 days, we've been having conferences on SMEs in the country. These are the things whereby the government must work with the biggest companies, biggest investors, to engage young people, to diversify from the thinking of wearing a tie and a shirt, because this country has massive people with human resource. You've seen young men and women coming with innovations, but they don't have the kick-starting capitals for some of those projects they want to do.
That takes us now to the system, the curriculum of education. You see, myself being an example, when we went to school, all the way from childhood, we were being told, elimu ni ufunguo wa maisha, that ukisoma utapata nyumba nzuri, utapata kazi nzuri, utapata mwanamke mzuri, ama kama wewe ni mwanamke utapata mwanaume mzuri. Those things, and then it really poisoned all the young generations. So when we come outside here, or when they come outside here, they meet something else. So apart from coming up with incentives, also the education system.
You know, they are addressing this issue. That's why you see they have changed the curricula. The curriculum has changed now to try to go back to where people are expected to have technical, aspects of their work. But now the challenge for the government is to address these 2.7 million jobless Kenyans who are outside there, and we are still, nurturing them. We're having so many graduates now and again, but the government has a biggest challenge to deal with this issue, so that the counties, the 47 counties we're having, we can have systems whereby the graduates who have technical skills can be told to diversify from the knowledge they're having of the books to do other things. This is the bigger challenge which needs to be addressed, other than all these other issues which the countries the governments are addressing during this time. Yeah.
Now, Wakili, when you look at Kenya's prosperity index, in the year 2009 it was at 47.1, and then to 50.5, that was in 2019. So does it indicate that there are areas that Kenya is doing well as a country?
Of course, that's why I told you that if you look at especially the areas of healthcare, now that we've developed, the 47 counties, the primary healthcare is being taken care of in the counties, and the people are doing very well. And the people are trying now to do small-scale businesses of individuals. There is some slight improvement. It's a slight improvement which needs to be addressed so that it can move faster to address the issues we are facing now.
Mm-hmm. You remember last year, senators actually, which you are part of them, though you are not actually at the chambers by then, raised a national debt ceiling to 9 trillion. Now, this is a country where things are not going well, things are not really adding up, but at the end of the day, you realize that the debt ceiling is actually shooting high. Is it indeed shooting themselves on the feet?
You see, what happened now, that was a political, after the handshake, you see, the members of parliament, be it the National Assembly and the Senate, so long as Raila and Uhuru agrees, if Uhuru and Raila agrees that Kenyans take poison, the members of the National Assembly and Senate can pass that. That's a very wrong move. I even told my friends in the Senate that was a very wrong, they became unpatriotic. We need to tighten our belts. If you suffocated financially, you need to strive and move to what we're having. Because the biggest problem, you raise the debt ceiling for the borrowing, all the money which I borrowed. If you look at today's newspapers, for instance, and the Nation, and you see how the money which has been borrowed is spent, it's sad and it's unfortunate. And that was a very sad scenario for the senators who sat in that chamber and voted for the raising of that debt ceiling.
Legally, Wakili, when senators resorted to that, was that the last step? There was no any other window for maybe petitioning or anything of the sort?
You know, the Senate is the second house. After the National Assembly had passed that, the Senate had no option but to do that. And you know, the moment Parliament has moved to do this legislative role, then the executive endorses that. If an activist wants to move to court, all right, to challenge this an activist, because we have had so many activists who deal with human rights in terms of maybe economics, it will be an action in futility, because the court will look and then they will look at what the decision was done by the representatives of the people. Then they will be going nowhere.
Thank you so much, Wakili. We go for a short break. As we come back, we'll be looking into ways forward, what can be done, especially with the policymakers, scholars of economics, the three arms of the government in order to address this issue. Power Brief, we are doing it as it is. We can keep the conversation going. Our Twitter handle, that is KAKTV_Kenya. We are also on Facebook, KAKTV Kenya. You can also stream live on our YouTube channel, that is KAKTV Kenya.